How do we create new futures? That's the question on the table. How do we do that? So I was presenting to you today this concept that we can do it through summoning our superpower. And you're like, my what? Like superpower? Don't touch my superpower. This is not the kind of superpower, though, that we see coming out of Hollywood. This is not the dude jumping over the building or the X-ray vision or my least favorite, the cobwebs. Seriously, coming? Really? Who even thinks of that? This is a very, very, very different kind of superpower. This is the kind of superpower that we find when we have the tools that go in there that we'll find inside our own core. That every one of us on the planet has this superpower. We just need to be able to figure out how to go find it. And when we do, the way that we show up on the planet is so magnificent. It isn't the way that we show up today. It's a whole nother way of thinking. So that's what we're going to go through today. But here's what scares a lot of people. There's umpteen billion people in the planet, and you're like, nothing makes me unique. Nothing. There's nothing that makes me unique. I'm just this other person just wandering through the streets. I'm like, That's not true. What's true is we need exactly each one of us to show up, as I say, that's exactly what the planet needs. It needs more of us to show up. So today we're going to sort of dig deep and we're going to sort of find some stuff about us that maybe you didn't know was even inside of you. And we're going to see how that then, the bottom line will be how that affects our ability to create new futures. So maybe like you know, we've cruised through the world so far, we've enjoyed a journey. Maybe like, if you're like me, you've had some hiccups along the way. Maybe. My weirdness is I would be so close to seeing the thing that I wanted. I'd be so close to just grabbing it and I'd quit. And I'd see something else that I wanted. I'd be so close and I'd quit. And I'd try for something. I'm like, are you seriously kidding me? This is like a trend. This is not a good trend. It's becoming a trend. So a little while back, I took a step back. I thought, I'm going to analyze this. What the interesting thing, though, is that for 20 years, I built and rebuilt corporate brands. That's what I did for a living. 20 years. I was like, wait a second, I've got this toolbox with me right here that affects all these changes through a brand. What if I could use those, bring them over here, and use them for humans? Right? So I started with myself. I'm like, well, there's obviously a trend going on that I need to fix. So what can we do? So I took 5 of those, of all the complexities, things that we used to use to rebuild brands, and I moved them over, kept on testing, and all of a sudden it started to work. Right? If you can use these to affect this kind of change, why can't? Because we are the ultimate brand. We are not the things that we sell and the services that we provide. We are the brand, right? So it was fantastic. And after a while, I was like, wow, this really does start to work. So I'm going to start today with a question. So there's 5 steps. I want to start today with a question. The question is, what is it that you want in your life that you don't currently have? I love that. Did somebody say wings? My wife's in the room. She's like, that's funny for me. I really like this too. What is it that you want that you don't currently have? I love this question because every one of us has something that we want that we don't currently have. And that's going to be the baseline for today's conversation. So before we go on, you're probably like, well, why is this big thing here? Before I built brands, I was a classically trained violinist, a concert pianist, and a professional composer. So I thought I would mash those 2 worlds together. So I've built what we will call thinking music. Right? I couldn't think of a more interesting word, so we're going to call it thinking music. So I want you to think about this question just for a second. What is it that you want that you don't currently have? okay? This is just enough time for you to think. It's not that hard because you probably wander around all the day like, oh man, I wish I had this thing. All right, let me move on to the next question. So hang on to that answer because that will become the baseline for everything else that we do today. Think of that as our goal, okay? The next question then gets slightly heavier, which was, what will it take for me to get this thing that I just said that I really want? The real question inside of that is, who do I need to be to get that thing? We dream all day that somehow through osmosis, that thing will just happen. But it doesn't. It never has. And it never will. Sorry. I thought I was the Pollyanna, but you can dream all day and it doesn't happen. So what do? Well, we have to do something different to affect that change. So I want you to think about for a second, who do you need to be to get that thing that you really, really want? All right, so we got some more thinking music. Love this thinking music. This is fantastic. They're not long. Nobody said they'd be long. They're just little snippets of music. So who do you need to be? Well, here's a trick. I'll give you part of the answer. We are forever evolving. We are forever evolving. We can't stand still, or at least I hope we can't stand still, and say, well, today the status quo is just fine. It can't be. We're forever evolving. So it's not like I'm asking you to become a divided you. This needs to be a unified you, but you just need to start thinking like, so if I really wanted that thing, who do I really need? Like, it could be brave, it could be all sorts of things. But you really start to think about, okay, so who do I really need to be? Well, where we're going to go in a minute, I'm going to just say you right now, you need to probably just be a little bit more transparent. You need to be a little bit more honest. And I'm saying you as in that's what I had to do. And this was probably the hardest thing I ever had to go through, was to be that honest with myself to like, what is inside there? And that's not easy. Let me just tell you, that's not easy at all. All right, so here's this thing. What in the world stands between us and the thing that we want? Ready? That. There's the punchline for today. Fear stops us dead. Right? Everybody in this room knows that it is impossible to move beyond the fear if the fear is that big. It's terrifying. It's awful. The way that it will grip us and stop us in our tracks and will not allow us to go get the thing that it is that we want. And we get all up in our heads like, oh, no, I can't. All right, so enough about my fear. No, I will share a fear. Without having to bore you with all of my life's details, I'll give you the punchline to probably the scariest fear I've had to figure out for myself. So this thing about going and getting so close and just quitting and something else and just quitting, it was just like, oh. So as I started to really open up to myself and start to figure out what was going on, I realized I probably had the worst fear of all. And that was a fear of success. Oh, come on. That's the worst fear. Oh, look, I don't believe I can be that guy. See, stop. I'm not kidding. You get that close. Oh, no, that's not for me. I don't need to be that concert pianist. I need to be this concert pianist. That doesn't work. So listen, think about a fear, because I know you're all starting to think about one now, right? And if you're not, grab your head, pull it out of the ground, because avoidance is very much like, denial is more than just a river. You got to grab a fear, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but I really want you to think. So, of course, I wrote fear music, because, how does a composer not think of fear music? So I want you to think about fear. Okay, that should make you think of something. Fear. Okay, so what is fear? Fear to most of us is the kryptonite that holds back our own power. Kryptonite that just stops us. It's our arch enemy to our own, it's our arch nemesis to our own success story. That's what fear is, but I'm going to tell you this. This is awesome. I want you to grab the fear that you're thinking about, and I want you to put it in this hand, and I want you to you know what? You do not get to control me. You're just this thing. And then we can start to fuel against that. That's the greatest thing about fear, grabbing it, seeing it, and fueling against that. And here's how we do this. We do it now by finding our own superpower. We're here now. We're at the superpower. I want you to think then for a second. I want to put you in this mindset of your favorite hobby or passion. You're right there right now doing that thing. You're in the middle of flow. You're in your Zen moment. I want you to think about that. I want to think about the words that are coming to mind as you're in that moment. Okay, you thought of some words, I hope. Now, just in case you got your humble on, I don't have any words, I'm all humble. Think about what your friends or family would say in that very moment that you're in that Zen. Now start thinking about those words, because really, if you can't find your own words, you're like, I'm just too humble. What would your friends say? Okay. Now let's go one step deeper. Let's see, and maybe you're thinking of already, there's one word that just keeps on coming to mind. That becomes your superpower word. Take that with you today. That's the word that you use to fuel against the fear. That's the word. I'm going to tell you this too. I want to absolutely get this. On your very best day, you're having a great time, you're already being that word. I want to put you over here for a second. On your worst day, which we can sometimes have, I want you to think about that word. I want you to be that word and move the word out of your way. Like you do not get to teach me. You do not get to bring me down because I'm being my word today. And that is the way you move through the world. That's kind of cool. That's how I believe you create a new future. All right. I want to say this too. Just in case you thought you'd done all the work just then, you're like, oh, wow, this is going so fast, and I've already done all this work. Now is when the real work starts. You're like, oh, man, really? Because tomorrow is when most of us will go back to life. But tomorrow is when the real work starts. So I'm going to leave you with this. I want you to put an action plan together, right? You know, SMART goals. Be really specific about that first thing that you wanted. Right? Are there measurables that you can get to where it is that you need to be? Are you accountable to make this happen? Is it realistic? Is that thing that you want really realistic? And then my favorite is the timeline. We sometimes forget we need a timeline. The by when date. So we figured all this out, right? We figured out what it is that we want. We figured out who it is that we need to be. We saw fear. We've got our superpower word to fuel against it. And now we have an action plan. But I'm going to leave you with the heaviest thing. Now, first of all, I'll say thank you for having me today. Because I was thinking about this morning. Maybe today is the first time I finally got to do that. Huh. Dang it. I wasn't meant to do that. I want to leave you with this. I beg you to please, 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 please always believe in yourself. Because the minute that you do not is the minute you do not get what it is that you want. So thank you very much.